Welcome to episode 5 of Death, Taxes and This Podcast. I'm Luke. I got sitting across from me, Joe, and the guest that we got on today is Ben Serace, who runs Count HQ. Ben actually went to school with me, and funny story, so I used to post videos that Tack would film online, and Ben the sicko, all he does is troll him. Like he's probably one of the best salesmen I've ever met, but he was trolling through and he saw, hold on, there's an accountant and I sell resources to accounting firms. Let me reach out to him straight away. And then so I hadn't seen him for a while, but we were friends in school, and
it's true.
We actually were already using an offshoring firm, and I said that to Ben at the time, and then he just left me on his little list and kept calling. And then there was actually this other salesman, mate. I feel bad for this guy, right? But this other salesman was trying to sell me resources, and then he was selling them to me, and then it clicked, and I was like, hold on, Ben sells the same resources. I was like, you know what?
You called me while I was at a wedding in Byron, I remember.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna call Ben after this, because the way that we split our practice up, which is like, obviously we've got like the outsourced CFO, and then we've got the tax. Just for all the viewers, so Ben's team, they're based in India, and they take care of all of the tax. And when I had my light bulb moment, it was like, hold on, the Filipinos don't seem to have very many people that are good at tax, and all the Indians seem to be, well knowledgeable in tax. They've been doing super funds for ages. So that was funny. That poor guy, man, he still called me after it. I'd already engaged you. Like, yeah, it was, yeah.
Lucky you win some, you lose some, right? But no, I also remember running into you at Bunnings randomly with kids.
Oh, yeah. True. Yeah,
and that's why I stalked you. So I wasn't that aggressive.
No, so Ben is, he is one of the best salesmen I've seen in terms of like just his dedication to getting. We'll get this out of you between like when you how you split your stuff between you and Alex. So like we can let you go into it. But yeah, he's so dedicated to obviously winning new clients and making sure they're happy and doing all those sort of things that it's something that I watch you do, and like to be honest, that's why your business is so successful.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, cheers for coming in, mate.
Me and Ben are both sad this morning because we're both Arsenal fans, and they're obviously out of the Champions League.
Been up since 5 a.m. for disappointing news. It's not great.
But Ben, maybe tell everyone about yourself. We've heard it from Luke, but it's good come from you.
Cool. Bit of a background on me. I grew up in Lane Cove in the North Shore, went to Pius in Chatswood. That's where I met Luke. Luke was in the year above me. After school, I wasn't very studious until year 12 when I needed to be to get into uni. I went and did a Bachelor of Business and International Studies at UTS, spent a year abroad, which is pretty cool. After that, I majored in accounting purely because I got good marks, is what I say to people in the, what do you call it, Accountants 101. So it came naturally. I didn't really want to get into advanced mathematics or statistics, so I stayed safe and did accounting. Got into the industry, did self-managed super fund accounting for 3-4 years as a cadet throughout uni. After that, I kind of realised I didn't want to be an accountant per se, a practicing accountant, but I liked the industry. So I moved into recruitment for 1 year, learnt to put myself out there, talk to people in uncomfortable situations. And then I got into the outsourcing industry, working for other businesses. So throughout my 20s, a lot of travel internationally, meeting a lot of accountants, a lot of staff from different cultures. So the penny kind of dropped that's where my skill set is, and that's where Count HQ was born.
So your business now, Count HQ, you got your brother involved as well. How do you and Alex split the responsibilities? And
yeah. Look, Alex and I, it's a funny story, we weren't very close growing up. So getting into business together was a decision just based on how different we are. So he's pretty much the opposite of me as a person. You guys would probably have realised.
I attest to that. Yep.
Similar to you two, actually. It works, right? So there's some kind of clicking that occurred. He's calmer than I am. He's more into operational procedures, process, order. Whereas myself, if I was going it alone, I don't think I'd get to the scale we're at, because my focus is account management, onboarding, making clients happy. That bleeds into product, which we'll get into after. But in terms of having the patience over 3-4 years to set up workflow procedures and things like that, no, it's been a godsend to partner with him.
And if you've got anything going So like, yeah, if there's anything going wrong, you call Ben, because if you call Alex, you're probably going to get like, I don't know, not the best response back. Not to say that. It's similar with me and Joe. Like, you know, yeah, basically, if something's going wrong, I'll listen to everything. Just as Ben would in their business.
I'm surprised I'm saying nice things about him because we weren't friends, but we're friends now. So we kind of probably gained a relationship that we wouldn't have had otherwise if we didn't get into business together. But it works. It's good.
Have you sent Alex to live over in India, or how often do you go over there?
We used to go a lot more. We'll get into it later about, right person, right seats and our journey. But we used to be there a few times a year. Alex going more. He doesn't have kids, so it's easier for him. At the moment, twice a year.
Yeah, you enjoy the culture? It's obviously very different to Australia.
I do. It's very different. It's similar in some formats. It's multicultural, even though it's just looks like India. There's so many different, religions and backgrounds all within the one office. So it's pretty cool in that sense.
When people want to, they're talking to you about potentially outsourcing some of their procedures and people, that culture, what do they need to look out for and consider with that cultural difference? Because there is differences.
Yeah. I'd like to say that we take care of that during that onboarding process. So, our model isn't based on a bum-on-seat approach. We're not offshore recruiters. We're not giving you CVs of 9 Indian CAs saying choose one. We've got our staff. We invest in them. We've got 30 right now that aren't allocated to clients. So we train them up, put them in a buddy system so they get real job experience. So you've also got customer service layer on top of that. So you're not really exposed to anything about the culture that you really need to be an expert in to make it work, other than time zones and how to communicate effectively. But, other than that, it's a very structured workflow.
One of the good things culturally is how serious Indian people are about their job. I think that's something that the West is sort of lacking as we progress a little bit further. But their job is their life almost to a degree, right? Because then you've told me that some of the staff members needed to get a promotion before they could get married, sort of thing.
Of course.
So their drive is their personal life and their work life are entwined.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's why they're so hardworking. They're very proud people as well.
Definitely.
Yeah, they need to be very smart. So they're always wanting to learn and
it's
and
a
go
competitive
above
country, right? So yeah, you've got to go above and beyond.
100%. Yeah, and then that's definitely a cultural sort of thing that I've noticed with our team. They're always trying to outdo us, and to be honest, they've outdone me on some of the stuff. If I'm completely honest, which I love.
Good point.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Look at. It's taken a lot of time to really, there's Indian culture, there's Western culture, but then what we're creating is Count HQ culture, right? So once you come to our organisation, you'll have chances of promotions. Some of our senior managers joined us very early on with not much experience in roles that they're not in now and their management. So, that's something Alex and I are really proud of. But we'll get into the product, I think, a bit more. But you're coming to work for Count HQ. You're not an outsourced staff member working from home in India. You're in an office environment. You have to collaborate. If you'd like promotions, you have to push. You have to learn new things. You have to train juniors. You have to have the right mindset to work with us. But what we're finding is people are responding really well to that.
If you have opportunity and they know they have the opportunity to learn and develop as well, because I think that's across the board. Humans, you want to learn and develop. Yeah. And I have seen that fostered. There's people that started in our team over there that are now TAMs, which are quite senior, and
TAMs are technical
account manager.
Yeah, so they oversit the manager in the group.
That's right.
Yeah. Should we go into now how the teams work? I guess while we're talking about TAMs and stuff.
So typically a firm would come forward. We can get in. Maybe we start with outsourcing. A bit of our thoughts there, because for me, the success of a project really hinges on the client just as much as the provider.
100%.
So if you see our branding, it's outsourcing done right. That's my version of what I think the industry needs. And that is hand-holding clients through it. Don't just have this accountant and train them. So while we're onboarding, we want to know your work papers, your current process, your reporting lines, internally your latest grad hires, how they went, what worked, what didn't. Then we'll place the right person and manager into that firm. We call it kind of shared responsibility for outcomes, right? So 3 months in, if it's not working with a client, we're not sacking our staff member and replacing them with someone else. We're going to ask why. And yes, if it's a personnel issue, we'll make that adjustment and that person will go back into training. They won't lose their job. So our clients are able to speak up about what's not working a lot more. I think that kind of resonates as well. Alex and I will stay involved until there's chargeable work going out the door, reviewed to a good enough level.
Yeah. How long does that normally take? We've obviously gone through the process a number of times because we've helped implement you with other people as well.
Yep.
I think it's a 6-month project at least to get to really where you want to be. What do you find on your side? Is that the same across the board, or is that just what we've seen?
Yeah. As he answers that though, like we're able to do it in 6 months because we've done it like 4 times.
That's true.
You know, I mean, the first time we did it was more like 12 months probably, and that was because on our side there was hiccups.
Yeah, it depends where the firm's at.
Yeah, but we realised that at the time and like worked through it together. It was.
I've seen things work week 3. But that's maybe a firm with really strong internal procedures, used to having grads, intermediates, seniors. So plugging us in is a lot easier. But for most firms, look, we've worked together on projects that are teams, right? Not just 1 to 2 resources. We've got
the other thing is like
10, 8, 6. That takes longer because we have to build in that.
I always say to Joe, like, we never get an accounting client that comes in that's perfect and ready to go. No. So like you're dealing with like firms that are about to break.
That's right. They wait.
And they wait until like it's like shut the doors or go do this. We were in that situation, funnily enough. Not quite, but like we bought a business and we went to Ben and like we didn't have a tax division and like we rocked up and the guy that sold us the business didn't have any files and the clients were all calling, "Where's my stuff?" And like he really helped us through that. Yeah, but that, like, and we still did it within 12 months. Like, but yeah, I'm assuming that most clients that come and see you at that stage, it's not going to be like, "Oh, you just need a resource. We've already got everything done for you." Like,
no, most of them are not. But to build a good team look, you've got multiple levels in India in your teams, right? Which is preparer, reviewer, backup buddy, a junior staff. That takes time. That's what we've worked on. Some people can get lucky if they've outsourced before, still do. Some work, some don't. And we've got capacity at the right level. It works. But to change your firm's direction to onshore, offshore hybrid, it takes 12 months.
Yeah. And like it progressively gets better the whole time. It's just that 12 months, it's like automated, and you've got all your free time back.
Yeah. That's what I'd say. But you get out of it what the firm wants to put in. You know, I meet some clients who aren't interested in talking about what success looks like in 90 days. I get others that are really engaged in the onboarding process. So it's one of those things you kind of get what you put into it, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, we've seen that firsthand with the one we're helping. Some of the ones we're helping with, where the partners really didn't want to be involved.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really working for a long period of time until we told them, like, no, you actually have to be involved in the process and help, shape what it looks like, right?
Yeah.
So that's one mistake people make. What are the other ones that they make? Well, and you've made in business and your clients make as well that you help them through.
Yeah. From the accounting firm side, thinking outsourcing is the last. As you were saying, you're struggling, so let's do this thing. I mean, someone offshore. If you haven't saved your own firm, don't expect someone offshore to do it, right? Save your own firm first. Offshoring is going to make you more profitable, more efficient, allow you to hire and pay Australians more money for better skill set jobs. That's the angle you've got to look at it. Some people still come and expect an offshore provider to perform higher than their most senior accountant. You might see that in timesheets. They'll check the Indian or Filipino team members' timesheets every day, but the Australians might not be checked ever. So the expectations have to be right. You're outsourcing to ensure your firm's capacity. You're not doing it to save the day. Yeah.
And what about you in business?
Oh, lots of mistakes. Still probably making a few, I'd say. Our business started pretty much during COVID, so we kind of had some bad luck there. In terms of mistakes we've made, I wouldn't say they're mistakes because we've constantly grown since day one. We bootstrapped the business as well, so we went without to grow this business. So we hustled really hard, personal costs, financial costs, everything along those lines. I think some of the mistakes, when looking back, we're getting there now. Right person, right seat. Took us a lot of time. When you're scaling fast, constantly hiring new staff, dealing with the people side, I think I underestimated how hard people were, even though everyone tells you people are the hardest thing to manage. I didn't really get that.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier outsourcing that problem to you. So our staff, obviously they work really hard, but if there's any internal politics with them, Ben handles all that, which is definitely a plus. Yeah. In terms of the model and the way you've set it up for us, not for you.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it's something that came. I think probably some other mistakes we've made are doing too much too soon, and underestimating how long it would take to drive a culture of processes and workflow and timesheets. We probably underestimated how hard it is to change people who might be coming from an organisation where that wasn't expected, and they might not even understand why we're demanding that. But that's what we need to give our clients what we're selling.
And is that why, who's driving that on your end? Is it like you're on the calls often for a significant period of time? Who's driving that on your end? Is it do you try to standardise your processes, or is it really firm-based? And
we standardise our processes to the max that we can, and that might be what chargeable hours are expected out of a accountant in India at this level, and that would be then reviewed by a manager, how much time they should spend. That's the degree we go to. But we take on firms' processes. So all our clients, we're software takers. We use what software stack they use. So it can't all be aligned, but the Count HQ alignment is in the hours spent. Alex drives a lot of that with Vinkle. Vinkle's our director and founder in India with us. A lot of work goes into the procedures on their end, but Alex and I speak every day, so I don't think they can do that side of the business without understanding what customers are telling me. So it's kind of a joint effort, but Alex and Vinkle lead the way there.
Is that what sets you apart, like the people management, the processes that you have to other there's obviously a lot of outsourcing providers out there. Why would people choose you? What sets you apart from everyone else?
It's a saturated market. Interesting about us, most of our revenue, so look, our website's been the same for 5 years. We haven't had to change it. We've had waiting lists.
I was going to touch on your website later on, yeah.
That's all right.
All positive, I hope.
Well, mainly about how old that photo is. But
Mate, I've got a funny story about that. Xero still use that photograph at every roadshow. I got sent a picture of someone in London saying, "Is that you? Far out, you've changed." And I'm like, thanks a lot. So every time I go to a Xero event, I'm faced with what I looked like 8 years ago, pre-stress and pre. I emailed them to take it off, but they said no, they own the IP. So it's still on Xero's website. It's ridiculous.
We're the same, by the way. Our photos are the same.
Yeah, mate.
Luke looks like he's 11 in his photo. I checked after I got your question.
Mate, that was only yesterday. It's been a hard 24 hours.
What's happened this morning? Where were we?
What sets you apart, I guess, from other outsourcing?
Yes, it's that approach. So most outsourcing providers that I've come across, they might get 10 sales a month, lose 9 clients. It's all luck. Sales teams of 30 doing cold calls, cold emails. Most of our clients, like yourselves, start small. We end up with teams. So we haven't updated the website to get back to that point because we haven't had to. Capacity is the harder thing for us, not sales. So there's been times where we've had waiting lists, but upsells and cross-sells are the biggest thing. So our decision is to be like a product-led business. So an accountant should know what they're getting from Count HQ when they sign up with us. And we know that it might be one resource now, but they get the care because most of them turn into 6 or 7. So look, for our business model, a lot of capital investment goes in people that are unsold to people. But we're not going to push them and sell them until they're ready because we don't want to lose that image in the market. That's, I think, what would set us apart.
Yeah. I've seen it firsthand. Like it is really important that you guys investing in the people and not just it's not just a resource on a seat and you have to train them on our end. It is a joint effort to get that person to where they need to be, isn't it?
Yeah. That's our belief. Look, it's not something secret that we came up with that's a special model. It's just what I think has to be done for this to work for the client and Count HQ. Because it has to work for us too. Staff have their own personal goals, which is one of the coolest things, seeing staff been with us many years, achieving their financial goals, promotions. But at the same time, to get to that level, there needs to be a product behind it. So if we were just to sell Indian CAs to people and say, here you go, train them, the business would fail within 6 months.
Given you get to see everyone's personal life, work through that journey with people and see them develop and stuff, how many Indian weddings have you attended? A lot?
No, we try not to, because otherwise the invites will go into the hundreds and it'll be a bit too difficult. So we try and play a straight bat and say no weddings. Alex went to a wedding very early on, but the invites keep coming, so you've got to be careful of what you commit to.
They go for a week sometimes, right? So,
Mate, they're big affairs.
Yeah, they look fun though.
500
we'll take on an invite if you want for one.
Well, if any of our staff go, tell them to invite us.
There'll be someone getting married when you guys visit, so just let me know and I'll put the newsletter out. We'll go.
Sounds good. Yeah, we do have to get over there and
for sure
line it up with the IPL.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Does it help if your clients are cricket orientated, or that it doesn't matter?
Oh, look, people just use it as a bit of banter.
Yeah.
No. You've got staff in India who don't like cricket, who pretend to, just when
there's
ask.
a lot of that, I'm sure.
There's like staff in Melbourne that don't like AFL.
Yeah.
He's still talking about it in the kitchen.
I'm sure they hate it when I'm on the calls and they're like, cricket
probably.
again, cricket
Well,
again.
they're winning lately, so.
What, Gujarat?
Oh, no, not Gujarat. I mean India in general. I think they're much more passionate about the Indian national team than any.
Virat Kohli, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
We have Samir in our office. He's Indian background, obviously, and he loves his cricket.
Yeah.
And if you talk down Virat Kohli, he is very angry.
Very easy to get him angry then.
Yeah. Well, he's been out of form. He's terrible at the moment. Yeah.
Joe's been saying that for probably the last 6 months, and every time he says a comment like that, Samir's like, what? And he'll chime in.
Everyone's really excited about this new 14-year-old. Apparently,
I
haven't watched it yet, but
he got 135
on
balls. Not on debut. He has a 6
match.
in his first ball. In his first ball.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy. And I'm training up Tiki, my son, to be the next one. He's 2, but he's pretty good.
You're not going down football, right?
No, it'll be everything. He loves it all. So yeah.
He's got the genes, sports star genes,
Fast twitch muscle fibers beneath
Must
those
be,
pants,
must be. Yeah. Show off my legs in the next episode.
They're looking good.
You've got an accounting background, obviously. So did the financial management side of the business for you come naturally, or?
Yeah. It was small business, like our books, if you're talking about. It was quite straightforward. We use tools like Ignition, so the invoicing is fine. We'll just get the bills in through Dext or HubDoc. So the books on our side are quite easy. We were lucky in a way that we were spending the money that we were making on future staff. So there's not huge dips and peaks and troughs in our business. But I had already assisted a lot of SMEs with their finance function, so I'm pretty well averse with it, payroll and everything like that.
How do you track your business performance in terms of, do you check it monthly, new leads, new staff members? How do you track it?
Yeah, we do management reporting, so we're using an add-on like Fathom. We've broken down the P&Ls divisionally, allocating trainees in there, looking at margin per division, really, but understanding that those don't always look fantastic, but hey, we might have 30 staff with 4 months experience ready for a new marketing program. So yeah, that's how we track it.
This is do you let your staff do the numbers, or you outsource that?
For us?
Yeah, for you personally,
Oh no, our books are so simple.
Yeah.
We just do them ourselves.
Alex
would do it in a couple hours a month.
No,
Because we've automated invoicing.
In that small business section, it's you've always got to get that one staff member who's got to do payroll and they see everything. I thought because you guys do accounting, maybe you've got that one. We don't have that. Joe does all our stuff, which I'm pretty
simple, right?
I'm very lucky because everyone says, "Oh, what's the hardest thing?" And everyone's like, "Oh, it's really hard to run a business." Joe does all that, which is lucky for us. Yeah.
Well, you'd hope for an accounting firm or for yourselves that someone as an owner of the business would know how to do it.
That's a
you'd
good
be
test.
shocked. We fix
mate,
ledgers of accounting firms, and it kills me every time.
Well, you get some accounting firms want us to do their books in their tax team because they don't want their other staff in Australia to see their books. Our staff, we don't. There's certain levels where people will know salaries and things like that, but where Alex is working hard on a new project for banding, so everyone is clear on what they have to achieve to move up the ranks. Let's make it clear for Count HQ and our staff how you're going to get promoted, what you need to achieve. But no, the numbers. Look, people are aware by how many clients They know what we bill our clients. They know how many staff are allocated. But no, there's no sharing of data.
Yeah, okay. Interesting. Yeah, it's always like, that's hard, but like hard for businesses to know what to do.
You don't know how people are going to interact.
No, I reckon you got two types of people. You got the person that doesn't care and they just keep doing their job and they're happy to do it, and then you got the person that gets salty about it. And and you don't know which one's which until you show them.
No, but
then they use it against you or something. Like, I've seen both types of people work,
Of course. It's just human nature, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, just because there's 300 plus staff there, it doesn't mean the business is killing and we're driving Ferraris, right? So like we're investing in the future. So
no, correct.
Speaking of data sharing, obviously IT security is a big topic for anyone. What security measures do you have in place around your office, IT systems, all that kind of stuff?
So we're ISO certified. It's the easiest way to say it. Regular internal, external audits. So that basically means our information and data security systems are approved by a global standard. What that might mean on the ground is fingerprint entry to the processing floor. There's no mobile phones allowed on the processing floor. There's cameras. We've got our own IT team in India, but they're backed up by an Australian, MSP as guess you'd call it a virtual CTO. So we have to adhere to certain standards to keep that license.
Yeah, this is all stuff we check before we engage them.
Of course, but it's important for people to know that, like, just because you're using a company in India, there's a lot of people think that's a risk. It's probably more secure than other people,
It's definitely more secure than Australia.
Yeah.
I read an interesting stat actually that most frauds have occurred against businesses from middle-aged Australians who had too much control over the books. So they might have been an office manager or the bookkeeper, and the owners didn't have controls over payment files up.
Okay, so I'll get Joe actually had his old.
Do you
tell the story like at your old work?
I've got a couple where one of the employees was stealing money from a client's bank account because she had approval. This is a long time ago, and every day she'd go shopping, and I'd be like, I knew nothing about her really, other than she was in the office. I just thought she was some wealthy person, but no, she was actually stealing money. There was another one where one of the internal accountants, she had control over everything. The partner of the firm, there's not an accounting firm, but the partner of the business just trusted her because she'd worked there for 15 years, and it turned out she'd stolen $3 million over that time, and had been shifting it offshore. So
unbelievable.
Didn't you say so one of them, so you would rock up to do the audit or something like that, right?
We would ask for the info, and it would always be jumbled and hidden, and we'd ask for more info.
And it never reconciled?
No, it never reconciled. We'd ask for more and more, and the partner would just be like, just stop hounding her, you've got the information you need, just process it. I'm like, fine, we'll do it, right? But there's a reason we're asking for information. It's because we are another check for you guys.
100%.
That your business is not being defrauded. And then they brought in another internal accountant, and she found it. And she was hiding these Excel, in the Excel, she was hiding the cell, the lines. And so if you looked at it, it looked right, the payroll report, but there was an extra $30,000 to her every month, or
just hidden.
Hidden
you just
line.
click unhide and you find it.
That's
professional.
So there's a lot of ways, and it's important that us as accountants can help find that stuff when we're doing your work, but also you guys have security measures in place that.
Imagine coming to Australia, you have to hand your phone in or put it in a locker before you're allowed to go. It's just, the security, it makes sense. It makes all of even you're dealing with confidential data, but we're doing it all the time, you know what I mean? But yeah, it makes sense for everyone in Australia to feel calm and secure, and all their data can't get lost, you know what I mean? So that's fair enough, I think.
Yeah, and accountants also, you guys would know, you guys have a commitment to your clients as well. So if they know you're using offshore support to grow and deliver the Obsidian product the way it has to be done, because staffing crunches and things like that, then they also probably want to know that we're not taking photos of TFNs and things like that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And how speaking of staffing crunches, how often do accountants that reach out to you go, I just can't hire someone like a senior accountant or that kind of thing? Does that happen?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. And it goes back to my prior point, you can't solve that problem. You can't lose someone with 10 years experience and call someone who runs an offshore business and say, give me a guy to replace Gary. No, You're right. We've got to look at the process again. You might have to get back on the tools to review because Gary might have been reviewing work. It's really interesting. I mean, the staffing crunch hit hard, and people have said it's subsided. But I'm also noticing a lot of accountants who hired during the peak crunch. They obviously paid overs for a lot of these accountants, and 4 to 5 months later, they're noticing that they're not performing to the salary that they had given them during the crunch. So I'm noticing like a secondary market of staff turnover going on, which is interesting.
Yeah, and do they reach out to you then, or you're already working with these people?
They do. This time of year is a bit funny. The people we're talking to this time of year usually are a bit behind with their lodgement program, so it's the reason to rip the Band-Aid off. But people call when they've seen your name out there a few times and they know someone who's worked with us and they can just trust that we're going to take care of them. That's when they're reaching out. Interestingly enough, I've had a client that we onboarded that just had a grad intake of 7, but 3 years prior they did a grad intake of 7 and there was 1 left. So they planned that we're still going to take in 7 because we want an Australian base, but at the same time we're taking 3 offshore. So that was a funny one.
And maybe that'll shift from 3 offshore to 7 offshore and 3 on. That will shift over time.
That's right. So one of the most if I was an accountant coming out of uni, the best role I would be looking for is how do I manage a book of offshore staff for my partners of my firm. Those are the roles that everyone's trying to fill. So all of our clients will come to us and say, well, do you know anyone who can manage four of your Indian team and manage a 700K book? And those are the skills, funnily enough, I see a lot of senior accountants refusing to do those roles. And it's like, that's the way forward in an accounting career for me.
Luke's been saying this for a while, haven't you?
100%. That's the way of the future. Until they get rid of payroll tax, at least.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely the way of the future. It just doesn't make sense for, one, you've got people coming out of uni that don't want to do processing. And they're really expensive, I guess, compared to offshoring. So all your processing is going to get done off there. And then, as Ben's saying, the skill is going to be 1, client relationships, and 2 is managing the team to get the processing done.
Yeah, and reviewing work.
Yeah, reviewing work, exactly.
And having those relationships with the clients is the important thing here in Australia. Yeah, but you need to get the work done. There's so much work around that you just got to meet your requirements as an accountant.
Sure.
I reckon, yeah. Australia's very lucky that we can offshore because there's just not enough accountants in Australia to do all the work. You'd be paying $50,000 for a tax return.
Do you think that's going to change?
No, I don't think it's going to change at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Joe? No.
I
think there is a generational thing, isn't there? People don't want to come out and do the 50-hour
so
hard
this
yakka.
is my theory is so back in the day, everyone used to do go do their CA and then continue on because they're all earning good salaries. And I'm talking back in the day, probably 1980s or something like that. And then banking came out and bond traders were sexy and stuff like that. And then all of the accountants started flicking over to be traders because they were earning big money and then the money wasn't in the accounting. So now everyone's still going across to banking and it's leaving a big shortage in the accounting side because all these guys don't want to do this tax work. But to be honest, all the partners I know, they're making way more than the bankers. So I feel like there's going to be a time, and maybe it's now, that people are just going to stay put and, we'll have enough accountants to do stuff because they're getting paid enough now, right?
It's interesting.
How does the grad that wants to be that salesperson learn the skills if they're not the one doing the work? Is that how are we going to solve that issue?
It's an interesting point. They need to be willing to do 3 years of the work, I'd say.
No, I reckon you've got to skip it. I'd sort of disagree with that because they've got to just learn how to review. To be honest, and you watch heaps of people that do work, including myself, they're terrible reviewers. It's a completely different skill. You know what I mean? Even Joe would know this.
But you weren't that good at doing the work either.
That's true as well.
I'm talking at a micro level.
Ultra processing level. But we've got staff that are very good at doing the work, and we've worked with them before in other jobs and stuff. And they're not good at reviewing. So I think you just got to train them on how to review stuff.
Yeah.
And then that's how you solve it basically. I don't think you got to do the processing to be a good reviewer.
Well, it's hard to get someone to stay for 3 years. To grind and process.
And what you can't afford to. What you're going to pay them to train to do something that someone else can do way cheaper, and probably better.
Yeah. It's interesting to see where it goes, but it's similar to the technology side, right? We're talking about outsourcing just because that's the industry I'm from, but I mean, those roles will go to technology eventually as well. So, for people like us, it's about using that technology as it comes out, maybe not building our own, but using market software to give accountants access to that world of less manpower required. But yeah, coming out, we're not stealing jobs off Australians. Australians don't want to do these jobs.
Correct.
And there's no future.
100%. Couldn't agree more. And like the savings getting passed on to the customers basically. So happy days.
It's keeping some firms afloat too, because accounting's saturated as well, right? As you guys know, like your clients stay with you because of one, the timeliness, quality of the work, but also the relationship you've built. But the market's saturated that if you're unhappy with your accountant, you find someone and they will offer you to do the same work for cheaper than your current accountant. So you can't be in a race to the bottom in this industry. You have to maintain healthy margins. Yeah.
So what is the best part of running like your own business?
I probably haven't seen it yet because get back to what I used to look like compared to now. Is
it the stress and the aging and the...
Got two kids that were born while building the business, and like just, I don't know, I'm a big believer in you can't have everything in line at the same time. So while business is growing, it's going well, as you guys rightly point out, you know, the personal side goes, I don't spend any time on myself or self-care, and that leads to potential issues, right? So I know I've got not much more time until I have to prioritize myself again, but it's just, I don't want to hustle, but I have to. I've had to. But I think we're at the point now where I can start thinking about other things again.
Surely like winning a client or something is like good as well.
Yeah, it gets
like,
you back in
yeah,
into the booth.
like the high and low. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a high and low. Running a business.
There are parts like, but winning clients obviously feels great and helping them out and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Is it? I thought it'd be when you no longer have to come on the daily calls.
Oh, yeah. But then I'll find something else to do, unfortunately. I think it's a handicap I've got that I've got to get over. Like, I'm not needed all the time. Half the time I'll sit at my computer and probably not be needed there. So it's just a mental switch.
You do have to, it's a skill in being like, look, right now I've got an hour.
Yeah.
I could go for a swim, go to the gym or something. But it is that, like when you're a grinder in work and you love it, it is very easy to stay at the computer, isn't it?
100%.
Yeah. Are you going to get better at that then?
That's my goal for this next financial year. But I've said it for 2 years in a row, so let's see.
That's a good goal. You'll get it.
I'll come back on in 12 months. I'll give you an update. How about that?
Perfect.
Well, next time you come on, I'm going to have the Arsenal jersey framed and up on the wall. That Ben very kindly gave me a signed Thierry Henry Arsenal jersey. It's amazing.
Awesome.
It's still in my cupboard, hanging up at least. So
Got to get it framed.
I will get it framed.
I brought my jersey overnight actually, but been losing this morning. I didn't wear it. I was going to wear it, but
So Ben is partly French.
Yeah, born in France.
So how much is that important to you?
Mainly from a sporting level. All my heroes are French sports people. But mum's Kiwi, dad's Italian background. I was just born there and gravitated towards the football team.
Your team is very good.
They're very, very good. Field 4 of them.
It's a shame you didn't go for PSG.
No, I'm a Lyon fan, unfortunately.
What's something that you wish you learned earlier in business that,
not to sweat the small stuff. There are so many examples where Alex, myself and Vinkel might have spent 3-4 hours on phone calls about things that, you wake up 2 days later and kind of embarrassed that you put that much thought and care into it. But, I had no one to guide me on those things. But not sweating the small stuff, I'd say, is important because it adds up, right? Getting really annoyed about, maybe a client relationship isn't working out and it might be their fault, might be our fault. They might not be open to fixing it. That's fine. But there's people that will align with us waiting. So don't sweat those small moments.
That is important. There's people that when they receive stress, they're not very good at managing that. Say they receive an angry client to them and then they pass that on to you or us or other people. You can't sweat that, can you? Like, no. That's their client.
For sure. No, I agree.
Being an angry person, it is.
It's hard.
Because you care about the clients.
Yeah, you care about getting a mutually beneficial outcome, right? It's like it's the trade-off in business is you're selling a product and if that product has fair value, then both sides should be happy. And it's something I've noticed in Luke's personality, I think we're very similar on, is just like people pleasing a bit too much, maybe, and that can be a downfall. So getting out and wanting everything to work out for everyone, which is a superpower too, because you find a new client and you make sure the function works for them and your business is making a margin, so everyone's happy. But it's not always the way, right? I'm still struggling with that.
Nah, well, I don't know. I've got one of the best teachers in the world for, like,
for that stuff.
And how that, like, yeah, which has rubbed off on me over the last 6 years or something like that.
I think we started at the extremes and then we've come back to
the middle. Meeting
in the middle.
I agree. I totally agree because I'm a lot better at that now than I was at the start. Oh man. Just sit with Joe for 6 or 7 years, and maybe not as much now. Maybe the first 3 years were the best bit. If you sat next to him now, you just get this softer.
He whipped you into line, did he?
Yeah.
And Luke's whipped me in the line the other way. I think.
I know he's got 2 mids.
Do you think that's happened with you and Alex? Like, are you meeting in the middle, or are you just saying polar opposites?
For sure, but we're at a good spot at the moment, actually. Understanding each other more, like we're not to push. But a few years ago, like, we're brothers, so we were able to blow up, whereas you guys might have had a red line where you won't go personal. Like,
I don't think we've ever had a blow up.
No. We've been pretty lucky.
That's good.
Touch wood. Yeah.
So yeah, we used to have a lot more blow ups than we do now, but now I think we're strategically aligned. Yeah.
So I want to touch on our favourite question, if that's all right.
Yeah, mate,
which is, what's your least favourite tax, and why? Have you got one?
Yeah.
Or you hate them
personal income tax. No, we don't have this tax, but yeah, you mentioned it, payroll tax. Like, I haven't done the research. I don't know if I'm for or against it in the big end of town, potentially for huge conglomerates. I'm not sure, but for clients I see in hospitality who are struggling to even take home a profit, to have to pay a payroll tax for the trouble of hiring, growing, being entrepreneurial, taking a net loss, struggling to feed your family, to build a business, and then hiring 100 Australian workers, which supports us all, to then have a tax on top of that. It's just confusing to me. It's like a tax on entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I agree. I'd love to hear your take on why income tax is no good, though.
It's too high. Too high.
Personal income tax.
It's just too high.
Yeah.
It is being lowered.
At the moment. Not enough, I think. I mean, I don't know. Well, I do know why. Alex is very astute with politics, but like not having them indexed, it just becomes a political argument, right? No one wants to be the one to raise them, so we don't index them, and everyone can do a cut once in a while to be popular. But I mean, you guys would know more than this about me, but I'm a fan of how New Zealand does it. Slightly lower personal income brackets, not enough to hinder hungry people who want to go and earn $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 without creating fancy trusts, right? Just
what does New Zealand do? Yeah.
So they've got a higher GST.
Like consumption tax. And
slightly lower personal tax rates. So the view is like if you're earning more, you're probably spending more, and they charge everything on. So GST is charged on everything. So doing a BAS is really easy. It's just like everything that's GST.
Yeah.
I haven't thought too deeply about it, but
I think America has like a household tax as well. So like it sort of gets rid of the need for a family trust because like if you've got adult kids living in your household or your wife or whatever, you can just automatically split all the income.
Yeah, it's based on your whole dependence and in the household.
That seems fairer. Like.
Yeah, I mean, there's pros and cons of everything, isn't there? Like,
no, but yeah, whatever system you're set up to do, there's going to be ways to exploit it, and everyone's going to do that.
America also tax you if you're no longer living there.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like...
Oh, you got to do a tax return. I don't know if they actually tax you.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
Do they?
Yeah.
Cool. No, that's because, like, there's so many, like, billionaires just moving away.
Yeah, that's true. They make their money there and then go live in Antigua.
If given your, have been offshore a lot, have you thought about becoming non-resident?
No.
No? Because you want to be... Your kids are here as well.
Yeah, that's right. So, unfortunately not.
It is something that comes up every now and then for us, yeah.
You've thought about it?
Not me.
No, just clients, right?
Clients, yeah. And we do help them through it, but it does affect your lifestyle, obviously.
For sure. It would be possible, like Dubai or something, because it's closer to India. It's a 4-hour flight. But
Dubai would be nice. It's zero tax, isn't it?
I think you can get there once you're a tax resident. Yeah, zero tax on income and capital gains as well, I think. So I don't know where... Well, I do know where they get their money from, but they don't need taxes, right?
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, payroll tax is no good. Income tax, you won't win that argument with me, but...
I'm not saying abolish it.
No,
I'm saying
obviously.
reduce the top 2 brackets slightly.
Yeah.
a bit more.
Yeah.
I think that middle bracket, to be honest, needs to, like, when you have up to 45 grand, like, you don't need to earn much more than 45. You're already in the 30-cent bracket. Like,
That's right.
that to me, that middle bracket is a killer.
Well, for
Because,
sure.
like, the nurses and the this and that earning 100 grand,
Sure.
they are paying 30% on most of that.
Yeah.
That to me is the bracket that needs to change.
For sure.
I think if you're earning 400 grand, you should be getting taxed quite a lot. But
Yeah, no, I can agree with that.
Luke definitely disagrees on that.
I don't know. I think like, it's a bit rough, mate. Like, yeah.
I just think the flip side is, I agree, but maybe we should get the tax revenue from those taxpayers in a different method. It's not that I think people who earn a lot shouldn't pay as much tax. It's how are we doing that? Is it affecting people's hunger to go from that 130 to 180?
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah. Like the people that get to 400, they've like dedicated so much time into their career compared to the people that probably haven't, you know what I mean? So like, yeah. And then they have to give half away. It is a bit rough, I reckon.
The problem with the problem with GST in our system and the taxing of that in this regard is that like everything that the poor people who are worse off spend money on generally, other than fresh food and stuff like that, has GST on it.
Yep.
Whereas if you're wealthy, generally you're paying for overseas holidays and all these other things that don't have GST. So like there is an issue with that.
I can see that.
Is New Zealand charging on international trips as well, or?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But no, that's a good point. So maybe...
So it skews, you pay a higher percentage of GST if you're lower off than if you're wealthy. And that's where like income tax actually works if you get the brackets right, which I don't think they have. But
yeah, no, I can see that point for sure. But yeah, I mean, luxury car tax, a funny one, right? But probably, I can't believe I'm saying it, but probably to your point, it's a way of ensuring only people who want a fancy car pays something. But it's not a tax on all vehicles.
Yeah,
on your
correct,
10,000 used Mazda. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you come in and said luxury car tax is the worst tax, I'd be like, come on. Like,
I'd sound like a prick, wouldn't I? Well, I don't have a luxury car, so I can say...
What do you have?
No, nothing.
No car?
No, I do have a car.
You don't want to mention it?
No, nothing fancy. I used to have a fancy car when I was young and stupid, but now I'm in savings mode.
And you got to have the kid seats in the back.
Correct. Yeah. I don't want them kicking any fancy seats. So.
I think thanks heaps for coming in, Ben.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and expertise in this area.
Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah,
Enjoyed
it's a pleasure.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming in.
Got another tax question here from a listener, and it'd be great to get your thoughts on this, Luke. So this listener owes around $150,000 to the ATO through a company. They're probably not going to be able to pay it back, and they've got a few other people that they owe money to. What are their options in terms of reducing that to zero, or getting out of it, or restructuring, or what can they do? Yeah,
okay. So we're talking about a company that's sort of insolvent, I guess, like if they're not going to be able to pay it back. So yeah, they've got a couple options. Depending on what the company is, will depend on the options. But basically the first one you'd go to is like a small business reconstruction. So this is all stuff that liquidators do. Like we've got plenty on our panel that we can refer people to, but the small business restructuring allows you to write off a percentage, like it's somewhere between 75 and 80%.
80%.
Yeah, of your debt. Unsecured debt in the business. So if the creditors, so whoever they owe money to, the ATO sounds like it was the main one, if they agree to it, then they'll restructure that and you've only got to pay 20% of it. So that'd be $30,000 to the ATO and whatever the rest is. Is there a limit on the amount of debt you can have? Yeah, so it's got to be less than $1 million of unsecured debt. So if you got secured, it's not included in the debt, but it has to be less than $1 million. And what happens? Do people get notified that you're going through this, or is it anonymous? No, so all the creditors will find out, and then you'll appear on the ASIC website for a couple of weeks as you're negotiating with the creditors, as your company looks like it's in liquidation, even though it's not actually in liquidation. But while you're negotiating with the creditors for a couple of weeks, it will show as that on ASIC. Perfect. So if they choose not to go SBR at small business restructuring, what are their other options? Yeah, so there's like a thing called a DOCA, which is like a deed of company arrangement, and then that is just negotiating directly with the ATO. You can usually get about 50% off your income tax debt. This one's only 150 grand. You would definitely do SBR. If they said no, I don't even know if you'd bother trying DOCA, if I'm honest, because usually it's like massive companies that do Dockers sort of thing. Like you're talking like tens of millions of dollars of debt. The other option is like you could value whatever the business is and then sell the value in the business to another new entity. So let's say the business is worth 50 grand. You would sell that to a new entity. That 50 grand would be split up between, like the ATO would get 50 grand rather than 150, and then you would liquidate that company. They're pretty much your three options, really.
Yeah, I heard there's another one called P9, but I'm not an expert in it. But it is something that people will look into as well.
What's the P9 one?
Well, I'll tell you soon because I'm having a meeting about it shortly. But yeah, there are. The point, I guess, is like
there's 4 or 5 different options, and like if you're in a bad way, you want to sit down with the liquidator. They'll help you out of it. And like, to be honest, if you're trading insolvent, that's going to get you in more trouble than seeing a liquidator and sorting all this stuff out straight away.
Yeah, we've seen this not too much, but a little bit recently, and it's important that people don't just put their head in the sand. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. And like how stressful is it for them? They're getting called by creditors daily. It's not a good way to be. Like, just you could fix it and for not much money and start again. You know what I mean? With all the lessons that you've learned.
Worst case, if you have personal debt, you go bankrupt. And some people don't have many assets personally.
Yep. If you're set up properly, you would.
Set up properly, and like you got 3 years of being bankrupt, and then and it's not, your life's not over.
No. It's just beginning.
Yeah, you just got to deal with it and face up to it and get the help you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.